What is your wholesome little secret? My dad can't work anymore due to ill health. He receives a little money from the government, just enough to enable him to get by. One of his biggest passions, before he had to finish work, was building model railways. He has two, both are still unfinished. He had to stop working on them, because he no longer had the money to continue. When I took over looking after his finances, I started to transfer some extra money from my wages into his bank account, so he could start working on it again. I told him there had been a rise in his benefits, as I know he would never accept the money from me. It isn't much, but at least now he can buy himself 1 or 2 bits every month to keep himself busy and happy. I'd been saving a $100 bill in my wallet for months on end, waiting to use it. Every time I went to spend it, my gut said no. Every time I went to give it to a random panhandler, my gut said no. A few weeks ago, I saw a woman with her child on the side of the road asking for money for diapers/formula. She didn't have any of the hallmarks of a long-term homeless person or of a junkie. Just looked like a desperate mother in need. As I passed her, my gut just said it's time. So I stopped and gave her the 100. The look on her face when she realized the single bill I was giving her was $100 was priceless, and I'll never forget it. Best $100 I've ever spent. Only person I told was my GF, because she asked me why I always carry $100 bill on me that I never spend. So I told her when I finally let it go. Normally I wouldn't go bragging about it, but hey, if we are asking about wholesome secrets, I suppose this is an appropriate place to tell the story. My mom works really stressful hours, so she thinks my dad is the one cleaning the house and doing all the laundry when really it's me. He thinks she's doing it. She thinks he's doing it. No one ever talks about it, but I don't take credit because it makes them more relaxed and happy with each other. Close bracket. My roommate believes that our house is haunted by my dead aunt, Karen. Karen would always leave pennies around the house when she would visit. She died in 2012, and I've been leaving pennies around the house. My roommate freaks out when she finds them and yells, "Hi Aunt Karen. So nice to have you here." I received one of those Gillette body care kits in the mail. So I walked in the living room to tell my dad thanks, and he had this little grin on his face and said, "Huh, wonder who got you that." So I figured he was wanting to keep it a mystery, so I went along with it. All the while his dumb little grin got bigger, so I guess it made him happy to surprise me. I did hurry up and get rid of the box before he could notice that it had his name printed in the received from box. He probably doesn't even remember that, but I'll never tell him. If I see a beetle on its back, struggling to get up, I will help it back onto its feet. I like to look out for the little guys. I've also been known to fish drowning bugs out of puddles. I live in the country and there are many old family graveyards. Farming families would have their own private graveyard with a dozen or more graves. As farmland was divided to make 1-acre 5-acre plots for new houses, these graveyards were essentially abandoned. I adopted one near me, and I care for it by clearing brush, mowing, repairing the stone walls, enclosing them, etc. I've reached an age when I think of my own end, and I hope that someone does the same for me. It doesn't take much, but it gives me a sense of bettering my surroundings. I get to work 10 minutes early to sneak into our chapel and pray that my coworker and patients all make it through the night okay. A friend of mine was going through some rough times and needed a new phone, so I gave her my iPhone 4. She refused at first, but I said that I won it and it was just going to sit in a drawer anyway, when in fact I had paid outright for the phone, $600, and was talking to someone about buying it for $250. She was very grateful. I have a collection of puppy pictures I keep on my phone for when I'm having a rough day. I help snails across the sidewalk so people don't step on them. I've told this before. I have a very hectic work schedule. 4 years I had a standing meeting where I had to go over to a law firm for about an hour. New counsel started at the law firm and cancelled the meeting. I, however, kept it on my calendar. Every Wednesday I come in a suit because of this very important meeting that everyone knows I have to go to and can't have anything else scheduled during it or receive calls. What actually happens is that I walk over to a gelato shop and get a scoop and then sit in the park to enjoy it. An hour of no calls, no people, no meetings, just me and a sugary treat in my suit. I trip over whenever I'm around a sad person or if I'm trying to get attention because it makes them laugh. I was going to a lecture when I was studying after recently breaking my neck and being confined to a wheelchair. Some guy crossing my path tripped going up a pavement curb and trying to catch his balance, but never quite doing so, ran full speed into a hedge. He turned around and said to me, "I bet that never happens to you." It still makes me smile more than 10 years later. Now I'm wondering if it was on purpose. But anyway, keep up the good work. I pick up trash a couple times a month on my local bike trails around a lake. I ride the trails weekly when weather permits, so it's nice seeing them clean and not all littered. I don't tell anyone and don't post it to social media, so unless people would run into me while I was picking up, no one would know. It keeps the trails clean and makes me feel good, so it's all worth it. On Valentine's Day, I wrote 100 notes, in which I wrote compliments or positive quotes on, and handed them to strangers and hang them on walls for people to see. I've seen many people read the notes and smile. Still brings tears to my eyes thinking about this simple act of kindness. I've never really used my Facebook account for a few different reasons. But a couple of years ago a guy with the same first and last name as myself contacted me through Facebook Messenger. He lived several hundred miles away from me in a different state. He told me that my grandmother, who has dementia, had recently made a Facebook account and had mistaken added him thinking he was me. She was upset because I had moved so far away without telling her. After failed attempts of explaining to her that she had messaged the wrong guy, he realized that she might have Alzheimer's. Instead of just ignoring her and forgetting about the confusion, he took the time to find me, her actual grandson, and let me know what was going on. He told her that he would be moving back soon and not to worry. But even more unbelievable is that that guy was kind enough to not ignore some random elderly woman and be brokenhearted. If people miss the garbage can in the bathroom at my job, I pick up the trash and put it in. If the counters are soaking wet, I wipe them down. The lady who cleans our bathrooms is very kind, and I like the idea of helping her out. I'm secretly donating money to a kids charity each month. Haven't even told my husband. I volunteer every month at a food pantry and have been for about 3 years. Only my girlfriend and parents know, and that's only in case they need to know where I am if there is an emergency. No one knows the reason why I started going, including them. I do it for me, not for pats on the back. Every Christmas since I was 16 I have donated 2 baby dolls to the gift donation box at the mall. I started doing it in memory of my grandmothers who passed away when I was young, but began to include some toy cars etc. when I found out my husband's family used to receive donated Christmas gifts when he was a child. I don't really consider it like a secret, but I also don't think that there is a way or a need to tell people about it, so I don't. My parents neglected to give the family dog the proper nourishment he needed. I was in high school and walked to school. There was a shelter by my house. So one day, I took him on my way to school without anyone knowing, and on the way I dropped him off at the shelter, saying we couldn't afford to keep him, he needed that. I heard he got adopted by a loving family, and he's happy. As for my family, I told them he ran out when I opened the door. I mail anonymous money to the families of fallen firefighters and police officers. Not a lot, mind you, but just something to help. Thank you for watching Internet's Funniest. Please like, share, and subscribe.